Hi, everybody. It is Delusion Dispeller, and this lighting is absolutely awful. So, I'm going to see what I can do to improve things here. Let's see. That's kind of better. Okay, I guess I need the lighting behind me, not in front of me. I miscalculated that one. Ouch. All right. That might work. Oh, that's a little better, I guess. All right, so today I'm going to be telling you about 7 types of narcissists. The reason I'm doing this on narcissism, I know a lot of people come on and say, "Why on earth do you constantly talk about narcissism? Can't you talk about anything else?" I can, but every time I do talk about anything else, people say, "Bring back the narcissism videos. Do more on narcissism." So I'm doing one on narcissism today. Um, 7 types of narcissists to be specific. And I welcome your comments. And please, if you're here, say hello so I know who's here with me. I welcome all of my new subscribers, by the way. I've had a couple at least this morning, and I'm excited about that. Every time I come on and I see so and so has subscribed to your channel, it makes me happy because that means my message is getting out and people are realizing that they're not crazy. Yes, they did just go through what they went through and they're not alone. And that is my main thrust of why I'm on here, is to let you know I've been where you are. I have been narcissistically abused, not only in my marriage, but by a former mentor, whom I will be mentioning as I talk about the 7 types of narcissists, because pretty sure she was wrapped up in most of them. Now, whether she's a narcissist in her behaviors today, I'm not sure. I've read a couple of her posts and I still see some of it there. But she's with a new husband. She seems happy. I'm happy for her. We did chat recently. Well, not super recently, like about a year ago. And as soon as things got a little bit too close emotionally, she blocked me, disappeared, and stopped talking to me. So, that's what they do. Anyway, so let's talk about the 7 types of narcissists. And as I said, if you have comments or questions or just want to chime in, please do. And if you're here, do say hi because I would like to know who is here with me. I'm putting on my live chat so I can see all the messages that are visible. And let's get started now. All right. So the first type of narcissist, and of course, these are names I made up. It's obviously not a psychological diagnosis or labeling. It's just me explaining what they are. So the first one I called the I absolutely cannot lose narcissist. These type of narcissists require constant admiration, adoration, or notoriety. They either want to be known as the best, the most, the top, whatever, or the one that everybody is afraid of and dreads and doesn't want anything to do with. They have to be chosen for everything that they try out for or at, and everything that they want. They have to get what they're out to get, or they become very, very angry. They can't stand someone doing better than they do at anything. They have to be seen as the best driver, the best Christian, the best sports player, the best sports dad or mom, the one that coaches the kid from the stands. They have to be seen as the best husband or the best wife or whatever vocation they're in. They always have to be seen as the greatest and the best and the top, the one that everybody admires or hates, either way, as long as they get that attention, and they're at the top. Since their whole sense of worthiness is wrapped up in the highest achievement, someone doing better than they do can shatter their world and cause them a narcissistic injury to which they can withdraw from you or become extremely enraged. They call that narcissistic injury and narcissistic rage. That's what happens with those people that absolutely have to win at everything they do. You're playing poker with them and they lose and they throw the cards all over the room, or they, throw the chips against the wall, whatever. There's one of my daughters who has narcissistic tendencies, who anytime she lost a game, she would literally rip up the board, throw the pieces across the room, try to punch somebody. I mean, she'd get really, really mad. And that is how they are. They have to be best. They can't stand being less than best. That's the first type of narcissist. The second type of narcissist I have listed is the poor, poor me. Everybody misunderstands me, narcissist. I call it false victim syndrome. And the truth is, with these types of narcissists, they are not the ones that are victimized. They are the ones that victimized the other person, but they're painting it like, yeah, they are, Ricky, you're right. They're painting it like they are, so misunderstood, so mistreated. Nobody ever gets me. And usually when they're in the love bombing stage and you're the one they're love bombing, they'll say, "Oh, I'm so glad you're in my life because you're the only one that understands me. You're the only one I could ever trust." Anytime you hear those words, let red flags go up, please. Don't ever be somebody's one and only. It's a really bad position to be in, even if you're married. If your husband or your wife sees you as their source for everything, as their source for being admired, adored, esteemed, whatever, there is a huge problem with that. The only one that should get that kind of admiration is God above, in my opinion. And if anyone's putting you on that big of a pedestal, I guarantee if you fall or disappoint them in some way, it's going to throw them off really bad. It's going to destroy their world. They're going to become angry with you. They're going to resent you. Because how dare you? You're the person I respected. You're the person I looked up to. I counted on you and you disappointed me. Don't ever let yourself be someone's one and only. Okay, let's continue. So, the poor, poor me, everybody misunderstands me, the one with the false victim syndrome. They paint a picture from the moment that you meet them that they have been misunderstood all their lives. They'll give you stories about failed relationships because the other people, the partner, just didn't get them and couldn't meet their needs. They just didn't understand me. They didn't understand that I just wanted their love, blah, blah, blah. Um, Situations in which their money or identity was stolen is also common to hear about that. And the stolen identity was one that my ex-husband used. Um, how people got a hold of his identity and stole it and spent all his money and whatever. There's no proof of that. It's all in his head. Unfortunately, narcissists will make up anything to look like the victims. Um, One narcissist in my life, and I'm going to be referring back to this a lot. We're going to call her C. Because if she ever watches this, she'll know it's her, but I don't really want to smear her name because she's actually doing well. And it's not my intention to be vindictive or, hurtful or whatever. So we'll call her C. We'll call her CC, actually. So CC even told me about how everywhere she went, guys would drool over her. She's like, I can't even go to the store because even old men will turn around and just gawk at me and their jaws will drop open and they'll just be drooling over me. And then one time she tried to show me that this was happening. She kind of put her arm on my shoulder and said, look over there. See how that guy's looking at me? And I'm sorry, I didn't see what she was talking about at all. That guy wasn't even really looking our way. And if he was not staring at her. And he was not standing there with his mouth open or drooling over her at any rate. Um, ah, yeah, Marka, I hear you. Um, so I didn't see it at all. I didn't see what CC was talking about. This type of narcissist expects you to be their counselor and their problem solver. Oh, and the other thing is, if you don't solve their problem or you don't solve it the way they want you to, they can become angry at you too. And then they'll throw it back in your face and say, "Well, you told me blank." They want you to commiserate with them. And when you don't, they paint you as the victimizer. And sometimes, even if you do try to counsel them or commiserate with them, later on, you'll find it being thrown back in your face as they talk to other people and say, "Well, she told me to do this, and then this happened. And, you know, I ended up getting really hurt. So don't listen to her." I've had people already do that to me online. Don't listen to Delusion Dispeller. She's delusional. She's a narcissist. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She listened to me on the phone only for a few seconds and then she started talking over me and I've heard everything. And I'm not saying that I'm the perfect life coach because I'm not. And maybe I did do some people the wrong way, but it was never intentional. If it was a person that was highly monotone or somebody that had what's called pressured speech, I probably grew really tired of it quickly because I can't handle that. I can't handle somebody talking at me. Um, I'm not a trained life coach. I don't have a degree in life coaching. My degrees are in psychology. And so I'm somewhat on my own, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you, also, if you go to college and you take psychology, you don't remember all that stuff you learn. You remember bits and pieces of it, and it qualifies you, which makes you kind of wonder about like doctors and other people in different professions. How much of what they learned in college are they really retaining? Which explains a lot of the malpractice stuff that's going on. So nobody's perfect. We can only do the best we can do. At any rate, I was painted as the victimizer by many a narcissist because I didn't give them the answers they wanted. I didn't handle their phone calls exactly the way they wanted them to. One particular person, I had told them that if they called me up in a certain situation where they had not taken their medication, I was not talking to them because they would become very nasty and mean. And sure enough, they called me and started getting mean. And I said, I already told you my boundary is you do not call me when you're not on your medicine. I don't deserve to be victimized by you or be your footstool or your stomping ground or your garbage disposal. So call me back when you're on your medication and you're in your right mind, as much as her right mind could be. So yeah, I do set boundaries with people and I do stick with them. And that makes me a narcissist to people. Well, that's not a narcissist, that's wisdom. All right, so on to the next one. Number three, the third type of narcissist. The nobody taught me anything. I just know it on my own. I call it the God complex narcissist. This narcissist wants everyone to agree with what they believe, what they teach, what they share, or what they stand for. On the occasion that they might say something very wise, if you ask them where they hear it or learn it, they'll tell you nowhere. I just know. And they literally believe this, that they didn't learn anything. They just know it. It's just like in their fiber of their being. Being with this type of know it all person, you feel like you've just met a human dictionary, walking encyclopedia, walking newsreel, or even God Himself. These people will preach your ear off, try to teach you the best way to do anything, which of course is their way, which is the only way as far as they're concerned. Yet, don't you dare to have an opinion or a view of your own, because if you do, they will become furious. They do not believe that they need to learn anything since they already were born with such amazing knowledge. So, that is the, I guess you could call it the know it all or the God complex narcissist. Nobody taught me anything. I just know it on my own. And it's your job to learn it from me. All right, number four, the aiming for that chink in your armor narcissist. I call them vindictive and envious narcissists. This type of narcissist knows where you feel anxious, nervous, vulnerable, and scared and embarrassed. He or she will aim right for that area and have you right where they want you. Maybe you're needing affection. And I've already shared about Cece in other videos about how she knew that I was away from my family visiting her. She knew that I considered her my best friend, that I was emotionally needy. I needed hugs. I needed encouragement at that time. And she on the internet was very encouraging and even told me when we were in person, she'd give me hugs and whatever because she knew I needed that at that time. I had a really painful, miserable, emotionally abusive marriage, and she knew I was in it. She was kind of my counselor, my mentor, um, my best friend. Yet she purposely, when I was at her house, purposely withheld the care and affection from me that I needed. And later on admitted that she did it. And I also observed her doing this with her own children. Well, first of all, her children had no toys. They weren't allowed to play with toys. They had no type of toys. In fact, I brought them some little gifts because I knew this. And they really appreciated those little gifts, which of course she made no big deal of because she didn't allow her children to play. It's almost like a cult, very much like a cult. And they were not shown affection. She out and out told me that she didn't hug her daughter when she was crying because then her daughter wouldn't tell her everything that had happened if she went over there and comforted her. It's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard of, but that's what she said. All right, this type of narcissist will enjoy watching you squirm while they bring up an embarrassing topic that you ask them to keep private between the two of you. The narcissist in my life, Cece, did this to me in front of her mother. Narcissist Cece asked me the day before her mother came over if I thought because she wouldn't hug me if she had an issue with showing affection to people. The next day, in front of her mother, she asked, Mom, do you think I have an issue with showing affection? I wanted to crawl under the floorboards. I was like, did she seriously just bring up our private conversation to her mother? I just seriously was like shocked, bewildered, and just flabbergasted. I mean, there's no words to explain what that feels like when you talk to somebody in private and have this really emotionally intense conversation, and the next day you hear them bring it up right in front of you, looking over at you out the corner of their eye to see if you're squirming or uncomfortable. I mean, talk about evil. That was just wrong. Um, and I'd never had anybody do that to me ever in my life till then. Thankfully, I think her mother sensed what was going on. This was not the narcissist's first rodeo or time pulling this one. So her mother knew what she was up to, and her mom looked at her and said, well, yes, you do. You do have a problem expressing affection. And I was thinking, yes. Whew. However, of course, this later resulted in my receiving the silent treatment from Cece, as well as her accusing me of trying to manipulate her mother to be on her or on my side. Yeah. Um, they're liars. That's the other thing. They are just blatant liars. They'll lie to your face about things that really matter to you too. The narcissist in my life, Cece, later told people online that I was doing things to her and to other people that she was actually the one doing to them and, to me. They will charm and they'll steal your friends and your family away with a grin on their face and a twinkle in their eye as they do it. Cece sat in front of me on her computer, talking to the best friend who dumped me, who she supposedly was there to help me get over and to heal from. She sat there and talked to that very person about me and also about joining the ministry and taking my place in her ministry right in front of me. I was literally sitting on the couch and she was sitting on the computer typing in chat with this person about replacing me in front of me. When I asked her about it, she said, do you really think I'd do that to you? I told you that you are my partner and will be part of our family and ministry the rest of our lives. I promised you that. And that's how it's going to be. I'm not going to let her. Don't you think I see what she's doing? She's trying to manipulate her way into the ministry. That's not at all what was going on. She was literally talking to her about replacing me in the ministry. Oh, by the way, later on, she went online and told people that I was trying to push my way into her family because I didn't have a good family of my own. See how they do that? They just twist and flip everything. All right, so number 5. This is the how dare you dishonor me narcissist, or some people call this narcissistic entitlement. This narcissist will be mean to anyone who doesn't treat them like the king or queen that they believe they are. I've seen this one when I attended a banquet with Cece, and I arrived to find out that she didn't have a seat at the front of the room. She began saying things like, we should have been seated first. They knew we were coming. We should have been the first to be served at the head of the room. I tried in vain to tell her, look, Cece, it's no big deal. But she just berated me and told me, no, we always come to this and we are always given first choice and precedence. You don't understand. That's just how it is. The entire rest of the time there, she complained about the food, the service, even the banquet itself, which was awesome as far as I was concerned. It was a reenactment of a Jewish wedding. There was a guy dancing with flags flipping in the air. It was phenomenal and colorful and awesome. It was the best time. But Cece complained the entire time and sat there looking truly miserable. Everybody that saw her was like, what is her problem? In fact, she whined about it the whole rest of the way back to the house after the thing. So, yeah, that's the entitled narcissist. Number 6, the sixth kind of narcissist is the don't make me look bad. I call them the star belief narcissist. They think that they're stars. They think that they're like really special and really something. I think Carmi wants in, by the way. My kitty cat's meowing. Give me just a second here. Since this is live, I can walk over here to the door and let him in while I'm talking to y'all. Carmi! Come here, boy. Come here, guy. Come here. There's my guy. All right, it's cold out, and I think he's chilly. All right, so the don't make me look bad star belief narcissist. This narcissist tells you how to dress, what makeup to wear, what to say, how to sit, and everything. You cannot be unique or individual around them because they will tell you without any tact that you look terrible, are embarrassing them, are making them look bad, and will cost them the promotion that they want, the recognition that they deserve, or whatever it is that they're trying to impress to get. You can't win with them. So that's number 6. Number 7, the last one, and then I will open up for comments if anybody has any. You can choose as long as I approve. The dictator narcissist. This is the classic double bind of the narcissist. Of course, you can wear that dress. Of course you can, as long as I'm not with you when you do. Those shoes? Why don't you go look in that other aisle? They're much classier than those. That lipstick makes you look cheap. I thought we discussed this and you were going to that movie. The other one is way too childish for you. You don't want to do that. How the heck do you know what I want to do? That's them right there. That's don't be yourself. Do what I say that you should do and do what I tell you to do. You can do this as long as I approve and it doesn't make me look bad. Hi, Lindsay. Thanks, Suzanne. I appreciate that. So I'm going to open up the floor or the live chat or whatever for some discussion now. So anybody have any questions or comments about what I shared? There's so many more different types of narcissists and different traits of narcissists, but basically they all kind of follow the same patterns. The entitlement, the lack of empathy, the just plain tactfulness or tactlessness, sorry, where they say stuff and don't care how it affects you, the embarrassing you in public stuff, there's so much. They're not nice people. They're really not. And somebody had mentioned on one of my videos, well, we can pray for him, meaning Chris Watts, the guy that allegedly murdered his wife and children, an unborn child. She said, well, we can still pray for him. You can pray all you want. The fact is, there are just some people that, yeah, they're beyond prayer. Let's just say it like it is. Some people are literally beyond prayer. And it says in the Bible, if you believe the Bible, that there are going to be some people that are left behind. There are some people that cannot be redeemed. Now, we don't know who they are, but obviously, I think by their fruits, you do kind of know them. Ignoring you and avoiding eye contact. Yeah, that's called silent treatment. I mentioned that earlier about Cece, about how I got the silent treatment later on after the whole issue with her mother. I'm trying to see where I said that. She was very angry because her mother had told me to call her mom. Her mother told me to call her mother herself, mom. And Cece said, oh, I don't believe she said that. And I was wondering if maybe it was a setup to test me. And I still to this day don't really know what went down with all that. But I do know that Cece said, well, my mother wouldn't have said that to you because the last girl that got close to her ended up getting hurt. And my mother wouldn't want to hurt you like that. It was more like my mother wouldn't want to hurt me like that, meaning Cece, not me. And so I went along with it and I called her mom. She was mom to me for all the time I was with Cece. But Cece hated it. She was very, very jealous. And she informed me when we would talk, even before I met her mom or talked to her mom, she informed me that her sister always got mom's attention. And then when Cece got more into the ministry and religious stuff, she had her mom's attention. So, of course, then I come along and her mom's telling me to call her mom. So that was a narcissistic injury to Cece again. Now it was like dealing with her sister all over again, if that makes sense. So yeah, I was public enemy number 1 because of that anyway. And a lot of things. She was very jealous of me. One of her really close friends told me, Cece is extremely jealous that you can sing. She's jealous of how you preach. She's just plain jealous of you. And I was like, jealous of me? Because I looked up to Cece. And the weird thing is, Cece is a lot younger than me. Serves her right, you calling her mother mom. Yeah, I know, right? So yeah. Anyhow, it was just a weird situation all the way around, the whole thing. And it devastated me back then. I mean, this happened back in 2008, 9, something like that. So it was a long time ago. And yes, I'm still talking about it because it serves as a good example of what narcissists do, or people with narcissistic traits. That way you kind of have an idea of what it looks like. Because a lot of people get on here and talk, generically about narcissism, but not everybody tells you this is what it looks like in operation. These are the things that they say, these are the things that they do, this is how it makes you feel, that kind of thing. And that's what I kind of wanted to bring out today. So, anyway, that's all I have. Does anybody have any comments or questions? If not, I can close down for now. I'm going to be back a little bit later to do at least my Matthew video, my Bible video. Yeah, exactly, Suzanne. Envy's at the root of all their problems. Well, envy and idolatry. They put themselves up in the place of God, like they're above him and they're the be all and end all, and everybody should bow down at their feet and do whatever they want them to do. It's idolatry is what it is. It's self-idolatry. And while I was going through all this with Cece, God was giving me a lot of verses like their God is their belly. She was always into cooking food. Like she didn't eat it. She was bulimic, I believe. But she would cook food and she was known for being like such a great cook and everything. And that was the verse he gave me, that God gave me. Her God is her belly. And I don't think it just means your stomach, but it's kind of pertinent at the time, being that she was cooking all this great stuff. Um, there's other verses about idolatry that really applied here in this situation, but that was definitely one that jumped out at me, I guess you could say. Was it hard for me to get away from the narcissist I was married to? Yes. Not because anybody was physically stopping me, but because of the comments he would make, like, I had, I think, 3 children at the time, or maybe 2. We'll say I had 3. I'm pretty sure I had 3 by then. Who's gonna want a woman, a lady with 3 children? Who's gonna take you in? That's the kind of stuff he would say. "You're nothing without me. You wouldn't have anything you have except for me working for it. You don't work." Because at the time, I didn't. So, those are a couple comments he made. Um, I'm trying to think back because that was back in 2009-ish. Well, it honestly, in my heart and my mind, I was divorced from him for like 10 years before I ever left because I had realized what I was dealing with at that point. But I had kids and I was like, well, what am I going to do? I don't work. At the time, I didn't have a job. I could work, but I was so used to being dependent on him because I was of the biblical belief that women submit to your wives, submit to your husbands. The man is the head. The man is the one that's supposed to take care of you and lead the household. That was ingrained in me, not by my mom, but by my foster mom, by my beliefs. I mean, I felt like I was going to go to hell if I left. I was going to get struck down by lightning if I left. I was going to fall apart and I was going to devastate and damage my children if I left. And how would I support 3 children? I can't be mom and dad. I mean, there's so much that goes through your mind, especially when you have kids. When you have children, you're thinking, is this best for them? I don't want to pull them away from their daddy. We have this history. I mean, okay, just to give you a little idea, because my first marriage didn't start out awful. It really didn't. There were bad warning signs there. Like his abuse of my eldest daughter was a huge warning sign, a huge red flag. And in fact, the pastor did not want to marry us. He said, I see signals here that you're not ready to get married. You really need to hold off on marriage. I'm not saying I won't marry you, but I really want you to wait. And I didn't listen. And I was torn because I would sit out on my porch. We had this big, tall, what do you call them? They're steps, but they're like wooden steps that are built onto an upstairs apartment. And I would sit out there on the stoop, just crying out to God and trying to understand, I love this man and we are best friends. And I don't understand why you wouldn't want this to happen and give me a sign. I mean, I just didn't know. It was just awful because I don't know. I wasn't sure. And I really wanted things to work out. And I wanted to be married. It was so ingrained in me, even as a Catholic, which is what I was brought up as, that there's a husband, there's a wife, and there's children. That's just what you're meant to do. And even though my mom will tell you she really encouraged career and stuff, which she did, that really wasn't where the emphasis was put, I don't feel. I remember just as a little girl always playing house, and I was the wife, and whoever was the husband, and I had children, and we lived happily ever after. And all the fairy tales teach you that too. Of course, if anybody knows about Disney, Disney's not exactly kosher either, but there were a lot of hidden things in Disney that back then as a child I didn't know about. Um, I'm trying to read some comments here for a second. Thanks for typing, by the way. It's easier to have a conversation back and forth when somebody's in text if they actually type. So I know what you mean. That's the worst feeling, being emotionally divorced in your own mind, but still living together. Yeah, exactly. It was awful. Um, would the narc have left? Mine keeps saying he will go, but so far, no. No, no. My husband at the time said, if anybody divorces, it'll be you, because I don't believe in divorce. I believe till death do you part, because we were both Christians at the time. And he also was raised in a Christian household, yeah, with abuse and his sisters being molested by a monster so called father, which everybody kept hidden, of course, so they could look like the Christian Waltons family, which wasn't true at all. So my husband ended up growing up in abuse, and he would say, no way, I'm not giving you a divorce. And if you divorce, you're going to have to fight me for the kids. And who wants to go through all that? That's like major stress nobody wants to walk through. So I put it off and put it off because I didn't know what to do. I was so young. I mean, yeah, I was in my 20s and whatever, and I was so alone. I had nobody I could talk to about it. And even if you see a therapist, they're not going to tell you, oh, yes, divorce your husband, or oh, no, don't. They can't. They can let you bounce ideas off of them, let you talk to yourself out loud in front of them, and they can maybe pose suggestions, but they can't tell you, well, this is what I would do. This is what you need to do. They can't. That violates everything they are all about in their counseling profession. In fact, when the counselor finally told me my husband was a narcissist, she said, you can't tell anybody I said this because I could lose my job. It violates what they do. So she couldn't. I mean, she technically couldn't, but she did because she was worried about me as a person more than just I'm your counselor and you're my counselee. I'm gonna put this up here because this lighting is absolutely awful. Sorry about that, guys. I'm still kind of dealing with not the best machinery to do these type of videos, but I'm doing them because I know people want me to. People want to hear this stuff and they want to discuss it. Okay, so I'm gonna read again. Would the narc have left? I already answered that. No, he wouldn't. So what was the first actual step I took to get out? Um, okay. Okay. I didn't do it the right way at all, I'm sure. I met a guy. I had put an ad online for a capo for my guitar. It's a little thing that makes your strings hold down, so it makes a different type of tune. And a guy answered the ad. It was an older guy, and he was estranged from his wife. In fact, he was quite a bit older than me. And he came and he brought the capo and he said, I also have a 12-string guitar. Would you be interested in that? Yeah, I like to play guitar. So, yeah, I'd be interested in that. Okay, I'll bring it by tomorrow. As time went on, we became friends. He started taking me out on dates with my husband's approval. Yes, it was weird. Most husbands would say, H, no, you're not going out with some guy, whatever. My husband and I at the time had this relationship that was very odd where we trusted each other with other people. And I don't mean in any weird kind of way. I mean, just as being friends. We weren't threatened by that. So anyhow, but he did say when I went out on dates with this guy, if you ruin this relationship, you ruin this marriage, it's on you, not me. So I always had that in the back of my mind. So yes, we got involved, but not involved, if that makes sense. We didn't go, to the extreme, but we did get involved and we did do some stuff that I'm not proud of. At any rate, the biggest thing of that relationship was this man that I was with kept telling me, you don't deserve to be mistreated. I can't believe your husband does this to you. I can't believe he doesn't respect you more than that. He doesn't treat you like a woman. You're emotionally starved. You're physically starved. I can't believe this. He doesn't take care of you. And it kept sinking into my head deeper and deeper. He's right. He's right. Why am I putting up with this? My family is going without food for a couple days at a time. We aren't paying our bills. He's turning off my only connection with anybody else that can help me. Something's wrong here. I need to get out. So, at some point along the way, my first step was to do the research and find out what I needed to do to get out. I went online, of course, because we had computers by that time, and I started doing research about divorce and separation and finding out what the law said. You have to be legally separated in my state for 6 months. I live in Illinois. You have to be separated for 6 months. That doesn't mean you have to live separately. That means you have to literally not be living like you're married for 6 months. And then once you've done that, then you go to the court, you tell them, look, we've been living separate, quote unquote, for 6 months, and we want a divorce. And so then they grant you the divorce after a bunch of deliberation in court and whatever. Um, that was really my first step, was dating somebody else, and it wasn't the right way, it wasn't the biblical way. My kids still resent me about it because they still think more happened than did, but it really didn't. I mean, enough happened that I'm ashamed of it, enough happened that should not have happened, but yeah, it was it was bad. Anyhow, but like I said, the biggest thing that that man did for me was relay the message that you don't deserve this, and why are you putting up with it? Don't do it. And that was what kind of made me decide, okay, I'm done. After the 6 months was over, and by this time, I'm pretty sure the 6 months had far been past, probably more like 9 months. Um, it felt so good to be dating again. It felt good to have somebody actually hold me in his arms and tell me I was special and tell me I was beautiful and pet my face like this and look into my eyes and say, you really are a special person. You are really wonderful. If I wasn't married, I would have married you, blah, blah, blah. Whether he meant it or not, it felt good to have affection again. Instead of having a disease that you got from your husband who went and cheated on you with his boss, which my children still to this day do not believe, and he still denies. But there's only one way you got what I had, according to the doctors. So, be that as it may, I met somebody that treated me well, and I started realizing, hey, there's got to be somebody out there for me besides this person that's treating me this way. So, I decided it was time to leave. And the way I did it was I started packing up my stuff a little bit at a time. That man that I was with waited across the street while I gathered up my stuff. I had been calling shelters that day. He called shelters for me, and he called me back and said, there's this shelter, but you need to get out tonight and get right over there, but they'll take you and your daughter in. I took my youngest daughter with me, and at the time when I was packing, my husband, my other three daughters were sitting in the living room screaming back and forth at me, you're not taking her, you're not taking her, meaning their youngest sister. And I didn't answer them very much. I think I said, yes, I am, and I basically started heading towards the door. And my husband at the time was telling the other girls, let your mother take her. We'll work this all out. We'll figure it out. Just let her go. Now, I had left before, but he knew I always came back. So I think in his mind, he thought I would be back. In fact, I think he said, she'll be back. Just wait and see, she'll be back. And I knew at that point when I heard him say that, I can't go back. If I go back, The message I'm giving him is I'm not truly done. You can abuse me a little bit more. You can neglect me some more, and I'll just put up with it because I'm too scared to leave and I'm too scared to stay gone and I can't make it on my own. So I determined at that point I was done and I could not look back. And I think I was in a state of shock, like, for months after that, because it didn't hit me until I was living at the, halfway house that I ended up living at, or whatever it's called. It was like a big building with a bunch of apartments in it. And it hit me one day, everything I had left behind, my pets, my children, familiarity, history. I mean, you're talking about somebody that was married 23 years. That's a long, long time. That's time to go to in-laws' houses and other people's weddings and people's funerals and birthday parties and Christmases and holidays and church together and dinners and 23 years of that. And it just washed over me like a miserable, dirty flood. I mean, I was just devastated. It just hit me, and I cried and cried and cried for hours that day. And it hurt so bad. And it was overwhelming. It was absolutely awful. Um, but I was in college at the time, so I let myself mourn the loss of my marriage, the loss of everything I had built up and known for 23 years. And I started just really refocusing on my schooling and determining that that would be my next goal, was to get that bachelor degree, which those of you that watch my videos know that I did get. My graduation ceremony is on one of my videos. And I got the bachelor degree, and then I met my second husband. I won't go into all that because you didn't ask me that, but so that was my first step, was really just doing the research and learning that I deserve better. So that was the answer to that question from, I believe, was it Ricky? No, it was Suzanne that asked that. Thanks, Suzanne, for that question. Any other questions or comments? I'll just wait here. I don't want to sit and chit chat. Well, nobody's typing. Wow, it's really quiet here. My husband's got his headphones on. He's watching some kind of, I guess it's called Suits, uh, some kind of private eye or lawyer show or something. But it's nice and peaceful here today, and it's nice and cool. It's not hot at all. It's relief. Anybody, any questions? I'll give it like a couple more seconds and then I'll sign off if nobody wants to talk anymore on this. Mary Joseph, my husband is always trying to get sympathy from me and everyone by pretending to always be sick. Oh, yeah. That would be my second marriage, not my first one. My first marriage, he was so proud that if he got sick, he would stay sick. He didn't ever see a doctor, never, hardly ever took medicine. And if he did, um, they usually made him tired, a lot of the medicines. But he didn't like doctors at all. It took a long time to get him to see one. The only time I remember him really being in a hospital was when he ended up almost dying from a staph infection. He had knelt on a rusty nail and it started causing a staph infection to creep up his legs towards his organs. And I told him, "You have a choice." This was one time I took authority over the narcissist. I said, "You have one of three choices. You can let me drive you to the hospital, you can drive yourself to the hospital, or you can take an ambulance to the hospital." And he chose to let me drive him. And the nurses and doctors said, "You have a really wonderful woman that she took you here, because if you would have waited and went to sleep like you wanted to, you would have been dead by the morning. You never would have woken up." So thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate that. I try. Um, Sometimes my husband will say, "You're beautiful." My current husband, "You're so beautiful." And I'll say, "I try." And he'll say, "You don't have to try." He's a really sweet guy. He is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mary, I know how that is too. It's just another ploy for that attention that they think they deserve, you know? Yeah, he wants everybody to try to convince him to take his medicine. Been there, done that. I understand that. Definitely. Anyway, If you guys are done, I don't mean to call you guys, but if you all are done asking questions, just type in a number 1 so I know that it's okay to conclude. If not, I'm gonna keep this open and answer whatever questions you have. You have me as an audience today. I don't have to work, and I'm just chilling today. It's Sunday. Thank you, Suzanne. Thanks for coming in. I decided I would post this as a upcoming live show. Okay. Thanks, Lindsay. Mary Joseph, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. I think I've given up on getting the 7,000 subscribers, though. It seems like my subscriber list is going down instead of up, but I'm okay with that. As long as the message is getting out that people aren't alone and shouldn't be blamed as the victims and that there's hope, I'm good with that. All right. Can you grieve properly when still living together? I don't think so, Ricky, because if you think about it, it's like reopening a wound constantly. What do you mean, Mary Joseph? I'll be pleasantly surprised in the future. I'd like to know what you mean by that. Ricky, it's like opening a scab up over and over again. Right when that thing heals and it's not quite healed, you're ripping the scab again. Because when you're still living together with the narcissist, you're still being hurt. You're still having those same wounds reopened over and over again. So I always tell people to get out if you can. I mean, there is a way to cope, and that is building up your own self worth and your self esteem and working on yourself. But I don't believe you truly heal during that process, and that's the problem. Oh, thanks, Mary. I pray so. I pray so, because the more people that can hear me and hear what I have to say about my own experiences and what I'm learning about it and what I've learned about it, the better. The more people will get out. And I do want to tell you, oh, I know, Mary. They do that. Stockholm syndrome. Um, there are people that I've literally helped get out of their marriages, like not told them to leave their marriage necessarily. I might have said, well, I would, or, I suggest you do, or something like that. But I mean, I didn't like control them and say, you have to do it because I say so. There's one lady in particular that I'm kind of Facebook friends with who finally left her narcissistic husband. In fact, she went on a talk show with him and he oh, what happened to my chat? It disappeared. Oh, there it is. Oh, thanks, Suzanne. She went on a talk show, and you could see him on this talk show how narcissistic he really was and nuts. Absolutely mentally, psychologically, psychiatrically, whatever, just insane. And when you would see him talk and hear him, he would make your skin crawl, literally. She didn't even have to tell me anything about him. Just listen to him talk and watching him would just make you just squirm in your seat. He was disgusting. It's sad that there's human beings like that, but there really are. There are some people that are just slimy, slimy evil. And this guy was terrible. Anyway, she did leave him. And it was hard because she had a lot of animals. Thankfully, she had a neighbor or a friend that took her and all of her zoo in with them. And now she is happy. She's separated, divorced, whatever, and is happy as a clam and just really glad she left. And that was another 20 something year marriage. So I'm thankful that I was able to give that woman enough information that she could get out and have the rest of her life be way better than being abused all the time. And she had a lot of health problems, so it was hard for her to leave. You have to be more sensationalistic to get more viewers, like showing the scary edge of leaving a narcissist. Make it sound really dangerous and exciting, which it really is or can be. Nah, because that's some people's reality, Suzanne, but it's not the norm. The fact is, narcissists and narcissistic marriages and relationships are very low key a lot of times. It's a lot of covert stuff. and it's very under the radar. It's not this sensationalized stuff like the Chris Watts and, you know, Jodi Arias and all that stuff. That's sensationalized because that was, blatantly in your face. Most narcissistic relationships are very low key and very family oriented, and they just go on business trips and family trips together, and it seems like the normal family, and nobody knows what she or he is going through until they finally do tell somebody and get out. So it's not, I'm appealing to the masses of the norm, I guess you could say. The people that are everyday people, not the sensationalized stuff. There's enough sensationalism. And if that's what I got to do to get more views, forget it. I'll just take the views I get or the subscribers I get. Yeah, Marka, I understand. I've dealt with overt narcissists and covert ones. So I know both really well. I've dealt with a lot of narcissists. And it's not like just the marriage or just the mentor. There's the worship leader was one, past priest in my life was one. I mean, there's a lot of them. Mm, I'm reading Mary Joseph's comment here. Nobody else is allowed to be sick around her husband. He gets very angry if they do and acts like they're pretending, just like he does. Even our animals aren't allowed to need medical care. Yeah. My first husband, narcissistic husband, who is now my ex, would not take care of our pets. We had many, many tragedies happen with we had 30 cats at one point because he did not believe in spaying and neutering. His theory was I grew up on a farm, live and let die, whatever happens happens, don't get too attached. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I don't know. I got very attached to my animals. I still do. Those of you that know about my 3 cats, you know that I've had many cats and I loved all of them. For various reasons, they had to find homes for some of them, but, right now we just have 3, and the 3 I have, it's like if you hurt them, I will have to hurt you. So, I love my cats. But back when I was married to him, we didn't take them to the vet. We didn't get them spayed and neutered, so they multiplied like crazy. Ended up with 30 of them or maybe more. I was like the cat hoarder, but I didn't mistreat them. I didn't neglect them. They all had food and everything. Thankfully, at least he bought the food. But no, they did not go to the vet. He refused to take any of them to the vet ever. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of bad things happened. Like one of the newborn kittens got hit with a softball and died. Um, One of them he accidentally stepped on as he was walking to the kitchen. And his theory, as I held the dying kitten in my hand, was, well, you got other ones. That was his thing. You got other cats. Same thing with Cece. She said the same exact thing. You have other kittens. Don't worry about it. It's just one kitten. You have other ones. That's just narcissistic. It's just evil and awful. And I had to deal with people like that, and it was terrible. I'm glad I don't welcome those kind of people into my life anymore, my inner circle at all. I don't have anything to do with anybody that acts like that. Um, Except maybe my daughters sometimes act stupid like that, but they're my daughters and I see them like once in a while for family stuff and whatever. But I don't have close friends that have lack of empathy. I won't have close friends. Yeah, lack of empathy, exactly. Dear zero empathy. It's not even a lack of, it's none. It's not like they're less in empathy. They have no empathy. None whatsoever. It's like stepping on an ant to them. That ant has no feelings. I won't even step on an ant. I won't kill a spider. I will take it and put it outside my house. I have had trouble about animals being killed for food, although unfortunately my health requires me to eat a meat protein, an animal protein. So I've had to kind of eat some meat. I don't eat much of it. I feel bad when I do eat it. I feel bad for the animal. I have an easier time eating kosher meat, like meat that was animal that was killed, I guess, humanely. There's not really a humane way to kill something. It just bothers me. It bothers me that our bodies even require amino acids, to be honest with you. I love animals so much. Also, financial wise, I can't afford certain foods, so that makes it harder too. I don't know, it's just a tricky situation all the way around as far as that goes. But yeah, they have 0 empathy. I don't know if they pretend to have empathy, they pretend to care about things. I don't know if you can pretend empathy. Empathy is something where it literally gnaws at you to see somebody suffering or something suffering. Yeah, I know, Mary. My husband hangs up these fly sticky things, which I think are absolutely cruel, but it's also cruel to let us be bacterialized by the bacteria the flies bring into the house. So I don't know. There's such a fine line with stuff sometimes. It's hard. I don't pretend to have the best way of living or, all the answers or anything. I just don't. I'm still learning stuff myself and still formulating my own viewpoints on things. I think you learn till you die. And I change my mind a lot. It's just me. Anyway, not on the important things though. I mean, the narcissism thing is the one thing I've stayed, I think, pretty steadfast on since I started making videos. I've just learned more about it and I've had more encounters with narcissists. So I think I know more about it now than I did when I started out, is what it is. Anyhow. Um, so we went a little bit longer than I was going to, which is nice. I'm glad somebody's finally commenting and sharing their viewpoints and what you're going through and your questions and stuff. So I will wait a few more seconds and see if anybody has anything else to add. If not, I will conclude. So feel free to type questions, comments, opinions, whatever, into the text. I'm still waiting for more information on the Chris Watts stuff, by the way. I'm kind of bummed that it's taking him so long. I really had hoped that this would just be a cut and dry, convict him, throw him in the slammer, and be done with it. But no, it can't be that easy. Do I think this disorder is touched by demonic entity in any way? Of course. Yes, I do. And I've been a deliverance minister since the 1990s. So I've seen people get free from demonic possession. I do think that that has a lot to do with it. I do. Yeah, Mary, that's another one. And some people that have narcissism can also be borderline. And borderline is a big thing, a big disorder where they use suicide a lot. There's also, it's very well known that borderlines and narcissists are comorbid, meaning they exist together, those disorders. Yeah, exactly, Suzanne. The absence of God in the holiness, I'm not sure what that means, seems demonic and does make your skin crawl. Yes, exactly. It does. I'm not sure what a holiness is. Holiness. Is that what you mean, holiness? You can clarify. Um, Narcissists are always the victim. Of course they are. Yes, in their minds they always are. Oh, hollowness. The hollowness and lack of God seems demonic is what you're saying. And it makes your skin crawl. Yeah, in fact, with narcissists, if you look into their eyes or psychopaths, there's nothing there. It's just a hollow shell. And they seem to stare right through you. It's just eerie. It's not comfortable. Yes, Ricky, exactly. Jezebel spirit is involved. I'm sure there's a lot of spirits involved actually, and it's all just evil. Hi, Tammy. Oh, Tammy, I've been enjoying your comments on my channel, and I think you've left some comments on my husband's and my video as well. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming in today to this live chat. Awesome. I didn't think it was going to go this long. Honestly, I was ready to close down about a half an hour ago or so, but people keep asking me questions and posing comments, and that's fine. Yeah, dead eye stare, exactly. That a lot of them have that glare and that stare that's just creepy, really creepy. I'll never forget when Cece said to her husband, we had gone out to eat. First of all, she had told me, um, I had asked her, "Do you want me to just stay in the room today, and just give you some space?" And she's like, "I don't know what I want." And I said, "Well, you're not talking to me. You're ignoring me. You're giving me the silent treatment. You're obviously angry. What do you want me to do?" She's, "I don't know. I don't know." I said, "Do you want me to just stay in the room? I can. I'll just like get out of your way." And I said, "Well," I mean, she said, "Well, yeah, I guess you should do that. Go ahead." And I said, "Okay, how long?" She was, "I don't know." I don't know was her favorite phrase. I don't know. I don't know. So I'd go in the room and I sat there and I had my Bible and I had my keyboard and I just sort of spent time with the Lord all day long, day after day for like a whole week alone, feeling like, God, why am I here? How do I leave? I had no way out. I had no car at that point. I was trapped. So I stayed in the room and then her husband finally came home and she's like, "Do you want to go with us? We're going to go out to eat." I'm like, "Yeah." Anything to just get out of that room, you know? It was a small trailer, and I was sitting in a trailer room, a tiny room, like the size of a bathroom. So I went with them, and as we're driving, she says to her husband, well, he says to her, "So how was your day, Cece?" And she's like, "It was okay. It's just okay. What'd you and Laura do today?" "Mm, nothing." And she's like, "Oh, well, she didn't do anything with me. She just stayed in the room. She never came out. She never bothered with me." And I'm sitting there thinking, "What? You told me." How would you feel? She just told you, "Yeah, I think you should just stay away from me, give me space." So I stay away from her, give her space, expecting her to come and try to talk to me later. Never happened. And then she turns and tells her husband she just ignored me and stayed in the room all day. Oh my gosh. Even thinking about it makes me furious. And I'm so glad I don't have people like that in my life anymore. So glad. And never will again. So, anyhow, we get to the restaurant. Everything seems somewhat normal as it could with crazy Cece. So she turns to her husband and she goes, "I can make her squirm. It's so funny. It's so cute." She's like, "You want me to? Want me to?" And he's like not answering her. She looks over at me and she goes, girly. And she said something. I don't remember what it was. And I was sitting there and I was literally squirming because her eyes, what she did with her eyes, she'd like look at you. I'm not going to do it, but she would like look at you up like this and just stare at you. And it would make you squirm. It made you feel really uncomfortable. And she'd say, "I don't know why she does that. See?" And she thought it was just amusing that she could make me afraid of her and freaked out by her. And she'd just be like, "I don't get it. I don't know why she's like that." Oh, I was honestly, I would love to see her face to face right now and stare right at her and say, "You know what? You have no control over me, no power over me. I don't care if you block me on Facebook. I don't care what you say about me. You are the one with the issue, not me. I was never the one with the issue. You were." I would love to tell her that. Seriously. Oh, I don't know what she is, honestly. I don't know if crazy covers it. She was an abuse victim of extreme abuse by her ex-husband. She was a neglected pastor's kid. She was a kid that had to raise herself and her sister. True narcissist, unfortunately. Very into image, even now into image. A different kind of image. She went from ministry to motorcycles, and married a guy that is in the military and rides motorcycles everywhere. And she seems happy. Okay, good. I'm not going to interfere with that. Um, the children involved now look demon possessed. So I don't know what's going on with her. Don't really care. I mean, I care about her as a person. I'd like to see her truly have a relationship with God, but I can't judge that. I don't know whether she has one or not. And it's not my issue anymore. It's not my problem. I don't wish anybody evil most of the time. I mean, unless they're like vicious people, then I just wish they, get put away somewhere or something. I don't know. I just, ugh, even thinking about it. Oh, you haven't, Tammy? Okay. Well, they're eye openers. That's for sure. If you go way, way back to 2009, you'll see that was freshly right after I got abused. So you'll see how I was at, mindset wise back then. Why do they cause arguments and blame us for doing so? Is it just projection? Yeah, it's just projection because I always said the narcissist was allergic to blame and could not handle being blamed for anything or owning any responsibility. It literally felt like that. It felt like Cece was allergic to blame. Even if she did something, it was easier to say I did it than to admit she did it. She put me on a diet at one point. She said, "You're going to eat anything that my husband eats, you're going to eat, and nothing but." So if he eats one meal a day, you're eating one meal a day. Because I wanted to lose weight and I was having trouble breathing and I couldn't keep up with her kids on a walk. So she's like, I'm going to put you on a diet. So you only eat what he eats. So that's all I was doing. Later on, she had this basket full of candy bars. I'm glad we're talking about this because this is bringing this up. And as painful and frustrating as it is to relive it, it's good for me. It's cathartic. And I always wanted to remember some of the stuff that happened because I feel like I was starting to lose it. And if I lose it, then that gives them power. That's the way I look at it. So there was this basket of candy bars. And by the time I was getting ready to leave, those candy bars were missing. Well, she ate candy bars and her husband ate candy bars. I'm pretty sure her kids did. And I said, "Is it possible that maybe the kids ate more than you thought they ate?" "How dare you blame my children? I can't believe you just said that. My children would not eat that much candy. I don't think you know what you eat. Look at you, blah, blah, blah." And then she just attacked me. And honest to God is my witness. I did not touch her darn candy bars. Okay. I didn't. Her children, on the other hand, did, and I know that for a fact. But she didn't want to have her children be blamed, and she didn't want to be blamed, so it's easier to just project it onto me. I ate the candy bars. Okay. And then once she was determined that I ate them, there was no telling her otherwise because she had decided I was the guilty one. So, okay, I'll be guilty, whatever. Whatever you say. With her, it was easier to just keep my mouth shut and stay the heck away from her. Now, we were in a little tiny trailer, mind you. I mean, it wasn't tiny. It was probably a double wide. I'm pretty sure it was because she wouldn't settle for just a normal sized trailer. That would have to be a double wide because Miss Priss, with her idolatrous lifestyle and having to have everything the way she wanted it and all the best of everything, she would have to have a double wide trailer. Um, but it was small. I mean, a trailer is not as big as a big house. So I just still kind of stayed on the other side of the trailer away from her. And that seemed to keep me out of hot water, somewhat until she got bored and needed the mouse to bat around like the cat that she was. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, so that's that. Yes, it's projection to answer that question. Any other comments or questions? Quiet in the live chat. Nope, everybody's quiet. Nobody's talking. Okay, everybody. Well, it has been a very interesting hour, and I have enjoyed talking with all of you. I'm seriously thinking of finding like Pale Talk or something where I can live chat and other people can chat and I can talk back and forth. I kind of miss doing that. I don't like being the only one talking. So I'm thinking of doing that. If you guys would have an interest in that, let me know. Or if you know of another live chat program where you use a microphone and stuff, tell me that too. Write me at delusiondispeller@gmail.com if Pale Talk is a good option for you, or if you know of another microphone type of place we could go and chat. Ah, Ricky, cool. Awesome. All right. Bless everybody. I'm going to head off of here. I'm going to go probably clean my house and do some stuff. And then I'll be back on a little bit later to do my Matthew video. I'm hoping with my husband, Matthew. That was my plan, but that's up to him. I can't force him to do what he's not comfortable with or doesn't have time or doesn't want to do. All right. Love you all and have a great day today, and we'll see you soon. Eyes wide open, moving forward. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye.